This is I Make Beats, and welcome to the channel. Hang out with me. Today we're going to take a look at the Polyend Play. It is a sample-based sequencer to take you from composition to performance. So stick with me. This video is sponsored by Z-Sounds. They sent out the Polyend Play for this video review, so thank you to Z-Sounds. So here we are with the Polyend Play in front of me, and I have to tell you, it has definitely surprised me. One of the things that I noticed before we jump into this is, I also own the Polyend tracker, and it's amazing to me how Polyend kept the same frame, the same shape and everything. If you look, you can see that they're side by side, and the Polyend Play and the Polyend tracker are exactly the same size. All they did was reallocate the surface area. They basically kept the same form factor between the two devices. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this thing. We'll talk about some features that I thought that really stood out to me on this gear, and we'll also talk about some of the things I think it lacks. If you were comparing this to the Polyend tracker, what's missing? Who is this device for? Now, let me just say, I have been using a lot of different standalone workstations, but man, by far, this beat feel feature is one of the dopest features I've seen in a standalone piece of gear. And basically what that means is, once you've selected a kick, snare, and hi-hat, the Polyend Play will actually create a drum pattern for you. Check it out. I know you're thinking to yourself, okay, yeah, whatever, that's not so amazing, but actually it is, because you can change the genre. Let me show you. Need I say more? So one of the features that I believe is a must on a sampler is the ability to adjust the sample in some way, shape, or form. I'm going to talk about some cons on this device later dealing with that, but for now, I'm going to play a sample. It's a vocal sample from a Lander sample pack. I'll have a link in the description. It's a pretty long sample, and I only wanted a certain section of the sample. So I'm going to play the sample for you, and then I'll play it again so you can hear how I selected the start and stop section of the sample.
Cause I'm drowning in my sea, baby, don't you see me? Need you here to save me. It's not easy, know that someone hurt me, baby, but you're right, and all is in my heart. Oh, is in the past, all in the past. Nothing but I'm healing, baby, when you arrive. Just give me time.
Okay, so you get the idea. It's a pretty long vocal sample, like I said, but I only wanted a certain section of that sample. So Polyend made it very simple for you to adjust your sample, where it's going to start and stop. You basically click on this knob here. It says sample start, and if you hold shift, it says sample end. But once you click it, they're very sensitive. If you click it, you can also use these buttons here on the side to go from start and end.
Baby, don't you see me? Need you here to save me. Baby, don't you see me? Need you here to save me.
As you can see, I started the sample at 4,726 and I ended the sample at 14,816. That's basically how you would adjust your sample. I made a selection on the row that I have the sample on, and once I selected that row, I can click on that knob and then make my adjustments. Something that's also pretty cool is you saw the numbers that I displayed earlier on where the sample started and where the sample ended. What's really cool is if you reverse those numbers, you can actually play the sample in reverse. Another really cool feature is this session save. There's a save button here. So let's say you have a sequence going and you kind of like it, but you have another idea and you don't really want to erase what you have. You can hit this save button here. It says session save. Now I can go back and make some changes. We're still going to mess with the vocal here. So what if I decided to start the vocal at a different point? So what I've done is I've reset the sample so that it's playing forward, but it's only playing a small section of the sample. And let's just say, oh, I made a mistake. I don't like it. I can hit shift and the save button and it'll go back to what I had before, which was reverse. There are so many more functions on the Polyend Play that are worthy of discussion. There's a song mode, there's randomization, there's even an onboard keyboard so that you can play individual notes. I think I'll save that for another video. But let's jump into some of the cons of the Polyend Play. One of them is, I said I was going to come back to the sample portion. Who is the Polyend Play for? You know, I think that it's for that creator who loves to do live performing, who doesn't want to spend a lot of time, you know, locating samples and all that stuff. It really is a jump right in it type of device. I'm going to compare this to its counterpart, the Polyend Tracker. As you can see on the Polyend Tracker, you have the visual wave display, which you don't get on the Polyend Play. You saw how we can manipulate the sample start and end point, but it's a number, you know, versus a physical location on the wave. Another setback, you can't sample. This does not sample at all. You basically load samples onto the SD card or you use the internal samples that come with it. It is not a sampler, it's a sample player, that it does not create samples in any way. The next con for me on this device is there's no line input. You can't route sounds into the Polyend Play. There's no line input or even a headphone jack. There's no headphone jack on the Polyend Play. There's only a master out. That's it. If you're wondering, well, how are you talking and how are we hearing you? I'm using my portable 4-channel mixer. So my mic is plugged into the mixer. The output of the Polyend Play is routed into one of the channels on the mixer, and the mixer's master out is going into my Tascam DR07 audio interface, which is routed into my camera. So that's how you're hearing me. If I wasn't on video, that wouldn't be an issue. I could just plug my headphone directly into this main out and rock away. But as far as content creation, I have to have a mixer to bring everything together. So those are the cons I have, which aren't many. And again, keeping that in mind, will determine whether you should get the Polyend Play or the Polyend Tracker.
Well, there you have it. The Polyend Play has a lot to offer. There are many ways to be a support to the channel. One way is to use the affiliate links that I provided in the description below. I appreciate all of you for all your support. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, click that notification bell so you know when I come out with new content just like this one. Until next time, this is I Make Beats.
I get rounds in the bar, I get rounds in the streets. I got 2 hitters with me and know they never discreet. I got the heat for you haters, I got the best of you laters. This is our last time talking until your eulogy speak. Grimy, kill the plug, take the bud, cause I'm grimy. Run up, get gunned down, cause you can find me anywhere on the block or the Grammys. Keep on talking and I'ma run up on your granny, cause I'm grimy. Cause I'm grimy. Your girl gave me